What is going on, baseball fans? Mike Rifkin, Mark Old Up Sky Halpert, and Danny Boy Reginald, welcoming you into a new edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. Gentlemen, we are at the last Sunday of June.
June went by way too fast.
Dude, this year's going by way too quick.
Yeah,
But
Where has the time gone?
yeah, July.
uh, July 4th. Hot dogs, fireworks, and baseball.
Yankees, Mets. Yes, yes, yes.
And we got a lot of stuff to cover. That'll be this weekend. We will talk about weekend series. We'll talk about series going on this week. Do you want to start with some sad news? Former Pirates outfielder Dave Parker passed away yesterday. Complications of Parkinson's. Parker will be going into the Hall of Fame next year. But the 1978 National League MVP, 7-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, has passed away. So condolences to his friends and family. So shame, though, he couldn't go for his own induction in the Hall of Fame.
Great ball player, powerful hitter, and the sound off his bat was sometimes sound like a lightning crack. Great ball, just a great all-around ball player.
Yeah, so that news. Also sad news, Ron Washington, the Angels manager, will not manage the rest of the year due to a health issue. So we wish him the best of luck in his recovery. Meanwhile, his Angels, they're right in the thick of things in the American League wild card as well. So we'll dive into that. But let's start with this. The WBC's coming back. And Team USA's locked down another player, another star player. Royal shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. has announced he will play for Team USA, joining Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens. Dan, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Bobby Witt joining Team USA for the WBC?
It's nice if it was mid-season, but it's not mid-season. It's before the season, and you're always going to risk injury. So the Royals better be crossing their fingers, their feet, their toes, their heads, and everything in their body, and hope and pray that nothing happens while he plays in the World Baseball Classic. With that said, it's nice to have the big guns so far committing to the World Baseball Classic for Team USA. Um, Not that Team USA didn't do well the last time. No, our team was great the last time. We had plenty of star power. But now we're getting even more star power, and it's necessary, though it is before the season, it is necessary if you want to grow this tournament.
Mark?
I think Dan made a good point in the beginning, as Mike and I both witnessed the last time, we lost Edwin Diaz, and that was due to a freak accident of celebration on the mound. But I guess injury comes with part of the game, but not in that way. In the same likenesses of Aaron Judge playing, Paul Skeens playing, they're all risking injury, and I'm sure we'll see a couple of our Mets play for various teams. That being said, you're looking at a true American All-Star team being brought together and not by fan votes. This is literally pecking the best of the best in the MLB to represent the United States. And so far in the first few names they have signed, they've gotten it right.
And I think, Dan, you brought up a great point. Growing the game. what's going to draw people to watching the World Baseball Classic? The stars.
Mhm.
Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, to a lesser degree now because of the injuries that have taken place over the past couple of years, Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Like, what's the moment people talk about from the last World Baseball Classic? Not really who won it, but Mike Trout at the plate against Shohei Ohtani on the mound. That's a pinch me, where were you moment. And everybody's watching it because they want to see the stars play and give it the max effort. Because we know the All-Star game, they don't always give max effort. But for country pride, and because baseball's no longer in the Olympics, but this is a good sign for
Yeah.
baseball that these guys are willing and wanting to play in the WBC. So Bobby Witt
Yeah.
joins Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens on Team USA. We will wait for more names to come out.
I think the LA games will have the baseball, but it won't be
It won't be pros. It'll be
it won't be
college
these
guys.
people. Yeah.
Okay.
If you followed us when we covered it a few years ago, we each had countries that were randomized. This time, whatever country you get, you will have to speak in their native language. So Dan automatically gets Puerto Rico. So Dan will be talking. Dan will be talking Spanish for everybody. I had Japan and Korea, so I will be talking Korean and Japanese. And Mike has gladly accepted the Netherlands, and he will be talking Norwegian since Mike is into hockey.
Well, speaking of which, Breakaway Band, it's Tuesday, free agent special. Tune in.
Yeah.
So yeah, set that up.
I gotta get on that Duolingo. Not sponsored.
Yep.
Listen, Mark, let me tell you, I could actually teach you a little bit of Japanese.
Hey, I did very well in my Japanese. I did very
Listen.
well. I even got a comment from my friend in Japan. He understood
Listen,
me.
I got sushi. I got Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Wonderful.
I got origami.
This is what we're showing off to the world. I got sake. That's the one that'll matter.
That's the one you need the most.
Yes.
All right. So again, that's WBC. Let's get into it in a couple of weeks because we do have the All-Star game in a couple of weeks. But we also now have the first two names for the home run derby. Ronald Acuna Jr. will do it for the Braves in his home ballpark. And then the best nickname in all of sports, the Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, has agreed as well to do the home run derby. He's also said he may bat from both sides of the plate, a la Adley Rutschman from last year.
A record that has stood for a very long time, Mr. Johnny Bench. Hats off to you, but hats off to Cal Raleigh having the power season that he's had. And not like this is a surprise to anybody. He's been getting better and better over the last few years. So it's really good to see how well he's come and how far he's progressed.
Yeah. No, Cal is tremendous. And the Mariners have benefited because of his power. So, now they get to have the benefit of watching someone at the All-Star festivities compete in what is the best part of the All-Star festivities, the home run derby.
Yeah, you're right. The derby is just so good. So good.
Changed over the last decade.
Yeah.
But for the first time in a long time, we start off with two very big names and prominent for the All-Star game. That's a nice change.
And I think, Mark, you've hit it on the head. Over the past couple of years, we've gotten big names for the derby. Julio Rodriguez, Jose Ramirez, Vlad Jr., Pete Alonso. They've gotten big names. Kind of the opposite of the slam dunk contest in the NBA, but that's a whole nother conversation. Still, I don't forgive LeBron for never doing it, but that's again a whole nother conversation. I think now the more we see the superstars participate in the Derby, the more superstars you're going to get in the Derby. That's why it's important for me that Ronald Acuna is doing it. And we can talk about the year Cal Raleigh's having and how outstanding it is. By the way, the dude catches every freaking day.
Never misses time.
He doesn't. He doesn't DH. He just catches every day.
Don't know how he does it.
I mean,
Got to be something in that water over there in Seattle.
the last time I went to Seattle, there was a Starbucks on every corner, so maybe he hits a lot of Starbucks.
That or the crickets they serve in the stadium.
The crickets, yeah. But so we'll see what happens. But they should be fun. Who else? Who's someone else you guys would like to see in the Derby?
If we're going to see the names like we're doing, I know it would never happen, but give me Aaron Judge and Soto.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Aaron Judge and Soto. Oh, and nothing against Pete Alonso. I think Pete Alonso's won it a couple of times. He doesn't have to do it anymore. But you take the two most controversial names who don't hate each other by any means. They have nothing against each other. They play and that's it. But you put those two people, you put the top Yankee against the top Met home run leaders. It's going to bring in a lot more, but I don't think you would ever see Aaron Judge or Juan Soto commit to that this year.
No.
I believe Judge said after he won it, he's not going to do it again.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to.
No.
But I'm with Mark though. It would be very nice if he does it again.
I mean, I'm going back to the times where you looked at Griffey, Sosa, McGuire.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, I feel you on that. I like to see a Kyle Tucker, maybe Devers. Devers, I would love to do that. Maybe if PCA beefs up his
Pete
power,
Crow.
They,
See, he can hit home runs. It's
Yeah.
just
he's not
everybody's
quite
more
there
concerned
yet.
about his speed.
Right.
Everybody's more worried about his speed than him hitting home runs. But yeah, Crow Armstrong's got power.
Yeah, like if he could beef it up a little bit, which by the way would be just on another note would be massive for the Chicago Cubs if Pete Crow Armstrong can ramp up his run production, power, and of course have all the other parts of him still be good.
and right now, I mean, if it's not Ohtani, he's right there for National League MVP.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Another alteration to All Star Weekend. I want to see a race. You know how in Atlanta they raced the freeze guy.
Yeah, let him go against Ellie.
Let him go against Ellie, Pete Crow Armstrong.
Poor guy's gonna need an IV by the time it's
Let's
over.
get the best of the best running races. We're bringing it back.
You want to do a mascots running race? Like they do in Nats Park.
Oh,
okay. But what would the Yankees mascot be?
But it doesn't have to be. The Yankees
George
don't have
Costanza.
to have one. Well, Big Nick Turturro.
Okay.
Turturro.
All right. That I would accept. That I would accept.
Oh, you just get celebrity fans instead of the
Kevin
Mets.
James for the Mets.
Don't get
Kevin James for the Mets.
Kevin James.
Oh,
But that would be a fun thing. Who is the top celebrity fan for each team? Stay tuned. We actually might have something on that.
Okay.
but I don't know if there's a celebrity fan for the Rockies. Yeah, find someone from Denver. Oh man. But yeah, the Derby's shaping up. Talk about that again in a couple of weeks. And then there this happened this week. I don't know if everybody caught this. The Diamondbacks were in Chicago,
Yeah, it's horrible.
and some fans shouted at
Oh,
Diamondbacks second baseman Ketel Marte, talking about his deceased mother, passed away in 2017 due to a car accident. Marte was visibly shaken. Manager Tori Lavillo came out to kind of uh, console him. Those fans were thrown out. They've been banned from, I believe, every stadium now.
yep.
Yeah, I think it's that one specific fan that was being the heckler, if not
Right.
all everyone associated with him. But I think it's just that one
But,
person.
and
Um,
this raises a bigger question
yeah,
because remember we saw our I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago the Dennis Santana situation
yeah. I think
where
it
he
was last week.
took a swing at fans.
Yeah.
I, there's a line that can't be crossed, and I don't know if I shouldn't say I don't know if because of the Marte situation. There's definitely a line crossed. Um, a ticket buys you a lot of things. The First Amendment gives you a lot of rights. I'm going to, but it doesn't give you the right to be a jackass.
Well, and of course we didn't know exactly what the fan was saying. I know me and Bill on Friday when we were talking about on SIP, there was some person trying to attempt a lip read on Twitter or X, wherever you want to call it, and they may have said something about Mama looking good or being a bop for the Gen Z term, which I still don't get why they use that, but then, of course, Cattell Marte came out in an interview. It was in Spanish, but it was an interview where they said that the fan was saying, "I messaged your mom." I don't know if it was a look, whether it was a joke, whether it was something good about Mama, whether it was something bad about Mama. Like it doesn't matter, you know. The fact of the matter is you're in a no-fly zone when you start talking about someone's mom.
We've seen throughout baseball history hecklers in the stands.
Mhm.
Mind you, like Dan and Mike both have said, there's a line that should never be crossed. Do we have to deal with drunk fans and their stupidity? Of course. And do people who are on other or have other mental issues sometimes say the wrong things at the wrong time? Yes. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate.
Yeah.
This was direct and deliberate. So I don't want to hear them claiming, "Oh, freedom." I don't give a crap. If the MLB gives the right to do this, fine. This is what should happen. There, not that there's going to be decorum in every game we go to, but there's, like Mike and Dan said, there's a line that you do not cross. And by MLB doing what it did and the Diamondbacks doing what they did, hopefully will set a precedent going forward.
Well, yeah, and it's a message to fans because we keep talking about crossing the line. You don't want to get to a point where you're upsetting people. Like the whole Dennis Santana situation, or even and I can't believe I'm defending this guy. Um, um, but even Rendon
Yeah.
in Oakland.
Yep.
Like, and look again, I'm not defending Rendon's actions. It was a bad, or Santana. I'm
Did,
not defending their actions, but understand that what fans do have an impact on the players. And if you get to a point where they get visibly upset like Etel Marte was, or they start to come at you and they swing at you, then that's a problem with the fans. Like we have to call that out too.
Yeah.
That is a problem. Um, and good on the Diamondbacks, one for
Yeah.
protecting Ketel Marte, because they did a very good job. We had no idea what was said until Ketel Marte revealed it. And I'm glad that the Diamondbacks stepped up and didn't say anything, just voiced support for him. And I'm also glad that the baseball community reacted appropriately by standing with the players.
There's a difference, Mark. You said it before, talked about the heckling. There's a difference between heckling a player and that line cross. We can heckle a guy if he's not performing. We could say, hey, listen, the team pays you to the Anthony Rendon situation. The team pays you a lot of money and you haven't produced. You could heckle that. Whatever the response is, the response is. But when you start talking about a person who is important in another individual's life, and that person is gone, you one, how you know that is beyond me, but two, that's just a line you can't cross.
Yeah.
That is something that, forget per player, fan, person to person, you don't do that. You don't walk up to someone and say person X would be disappointed in you, or I'm going to talk about this person's dead relative. That's just a line you don't cross. And Dan, to your point, Major League Baseball did the right thing. The Diamondbacks do the right thing. By the way, when Ketel Marte returned to Arizona the other night, his first at bat, standing ovation. So well done by Diamondbacks fans. But guys, to anybody who buys a ticket, remember this. That ticket buys you a lot of things, but it doesn't allow you to cross a line.
Yeah, can we be nice to people?
These athletes are people too.
Like, be nice. Like, it's not that hard. And look, I don't mind the heckling, but
Right.
don't be straight up disrespectful to people just because you feel like it.
Yeah. So, uh, to Ketel Marte, we apologize on behalf of some stupid idiot.
Whatever happened to booing? And
Right? No, you're
booing.
yeah, 100%.
Like
What
baseball
happened?
cannot be that boring where you get drunk and you start to really ram it in somebody. Like,
And by the way, I'm glad you brought up the alcohol facilitation here. I just want to touch on this for a second. Don't blame it on the alcohol, because you are obviously thinking of this prior to the consumption of the alcohol.
yeah, it's not an excuse for sure. But
It's not an
it
excuse.
doesn't help though.
Oh, all right. So again, we're starting a new week. We got some teams who are playing great, teams who are down. Mark, let's start with a big surprise of a team that's won 6 in a row and show them some love here. The Miami Marlins sweep the Giants in San Francisco. Looking for a sweep today in Arizona. And they could break a franchise record of 9 straight road wins today with a win.
It's a nice story to be talking about instead of hearing, no offense to any of the New York teams. This is a nice change and a nice look in on a team that is not doing as well, but putting a nice positive spin on it. The Miami Marlins are basically at the same point they are 5 years into their system, in which trade deadline is coming up and there are a few players on their roster who are going to be wanted. However, going into the likes of San Francisco and then Arizona, or vice versa, and come off with 2 road wins, I mean, something was right. It's got to give Miami a little bit of a boost, but this helps out the Dodgers, of course. It also helps out other teams who are at the heads of their divisions because it drops some of these teams lesser into the wild card run.
And the big thing for the Marlins, Dan, you're in DC. They've surpassed the Nationals, and they're only a game behind the Braves for third place in the NL East.
Yeah, they're playing well enough that that they look like a very competent baseball team right now. And look, obviously being behind the Braves based on the record today, it's not necessarily something to celebrate, but the fact that you climbed over the Nats, like that's pretty cool. Like that's a sign that there's a lot of good things happening. I don't know if it's going to continue. It's only a 6-game winning streak, but it shows that you're playing good baseball, and that should be noted.
Yeah, young players. Kyle Stower's been great for them. Uh, they're finding ways. A young team in the Marlins. They're not a playoff team, but this mini stretch here, it's important for the development of those young players. And to get wins in San Francisco, Arizona, and other teams they've beaten, it's important for their development. So good on the Marlins. Wanted to show you some love. And then you got a usual cast of characters playing well. The Milwaukee Brewers are on a roll, albeit right now they're playing the Rockies. But Mark, the Brewers are finding more ways to win, and they find multiple ways to beat you.
Well, the Brewers are there every year over the last half decade. The Brewers have always been a competent team, especially when it was run by now GM owner David Stearns. But as we see Milwaukee slowly falling piece by piece over the last few years, for what they're doing to keep alive, you got to give them credit. They got a lot, with Churio leading the way, and you got a lot of names in that farm system. But are the Brewers necessarily the best in that division? Absolutely not. But can they make a small run and be a thorn in the side of a few people? Yeah.
You brought up Churio. Bryce Terang has been fantastic. And the big thing, Christian Yelich has been healthy.
Yeah.
Which is a nice change of pace.
Yeah, that is a very nice change of pace. Dan?
They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're right there with Chicago. Like, keep it going, man. I mean, the Brewers always, like you said, always finds a way to be competitive in the National League Central and a wild card. Like it's impressive every year how the Brewers, with basically nothing, nothing but young players and nerds in a front office, they put the team in, and it turns out great.
It's the power of the bratwurst. Let's be real honest. It's the power of the bratwurst for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
And look, they're getting great starting pitching from Jose Quintana, Quinn Priester.
Yeah.
Freddie Peralta's doing his thing. And then they have this kid, Jake Mizorowski, who they called up. And all this
Yeah.
kid's doing is throwing 100 and beating Paul Skeens the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. If it wasn't for a leg cramp in his debut, he would have had no hit.
He was no hit. He was
No.
rolling against the Cardinals, who are also rolling right now.
Mizorowski has also taken the baseball card market by storm with his Bowman first chrome cards going big money right now.
He is legit. And I believe if all things serve right, Mark, you and I will probably watch him up close and personal because he's probably facing the Mets in his next start.
Most likely. And I don't know. Obviously, the kid's going to have plenty of time left in Milwaukee before whatnot in contracts, and we have to worry about anything. It's a name to definitely keep a close eye on over the next few years.
So the Brewers are rolling. The Cardinals are playing really well right now, too. The NL Central's starting to become fun. The Cubs, we know the start they've gotten off to. The Brewers are playing well. The Cardinals are playing well. The Reds are playing well.
Mm-hmm. Reds
It's
got
a
a lot
nice.
of young players too. Go ahead, Bart.
No. I was just going to say it's nice to be talking about other teams for once. We're not talking about the same team. Bringing up the Reds, exactly. I mean, look what they put up a game. Damn.
Yeah, and look, in a very tough National League, the Central they have to climb out of something, you know. They gotta work towards it. Even the Pirates, I know the Pirates suck, but like even the Pirates lately have been showing some good flashes of good baseball.
They've
So
been showing more fight under Don Kelly than they ever did Derek Shelton.
yeah.
Fair statement.
But I'll say this: like the Brewers, we just talked about their young players. Dan, you brought up PCA with the Cubs. The Reds have that young roster with De La Cruz and Steer and all these guys. Like that's going to be fun to watch as the summer progresses. How these young players handle that spotlight and the pressure to potentially make the playoffs. So, I mean, a 4-team race in the Central. You got basically a 3-team race in the NL West. And I'm still not counting Atlanta out in the NL East, so a 3-team race there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
just because he said it, he had to say that.
You're
now
going to
we're
count him
actually
out?
going to have to. No, I wasn't going to count him in either. I just wasn't going to talk about him. Now you have put a jinx on the team that has been the biggest thorn in all of NL East sides.
What if it's a reverse jinx and the Mets end up winning the division?
Yeah, well, what if it's a reverse jinx and Ronald Acuna pulls a hamstring today?
Bill owes you a pizza.
Fair.
If that happens, Bill owes you a pizza.
And the other team I want to talk about and stock up, and I'm going back to a real original here, but the Houston Astros are playing unreal.
All of a sudden, right?
I know they got beat last night, but they've been on a tear too, and they are starting to pull away in the American League West.
Yeah,
and they kind of have to. You can't sit around in this league too long and expect to coast. Houston has always been a good team, has had its moments, but you're 49-34. Okay. You lost last night, but you look at this NL West, sorry, NL AL West with with regards to the Athletics, who, sorry, they did better than I thought they would all season. You got the Houston Astros basically have a 7-game lead in the standings in the AL West, and that puts three very big teams Mike and Dan and I have talked about, and that's the Mariners, the Angels, and the Rangers, all in contention for a wild card. And the team that scares me the most in all that is the Texas Rangers. I think they are slowly starting to get better and better.
Did
So
you
they
see
get the
your boy
pitching like
Jacob
Jacob
DeGrom
DeGrom
start
gave
the
the
other
other
day?
night.
Yeah, with DeGrom, almost going for the no hitter the other
Did you,
night.
did you see that start the other day?
Oh,
Yeah,
he
I was watching it on the TV while and everything, and then I'm texting Mike. I said, "Oh, Jacob's got a no hitter through 7."
He's phenomenal. And
Never
the
mind.
long hair is back, by the way. I wonder if it's the long hair.
I will always.
I don't
root
know.
for
Maybe
him, so.
Texas will want to trade Jacob back to another New York team.
But we can only hope and wish.
God willingly.
The other thing about the Astros is it's not just the normal, Altuve, Alvarez hasn't been healthy, but Jeremy Pena has
Yeah.
been outstanding. By the way, he fires his agent to get Scott Boras as his agent now.
And
Great
we know
time
what
to
Scott
talk
Boras
about it.
does. Yeah, and we know what Scott Boras does.
Yeah, so Houston, they are starting to play like a machine. And Mark, you brought up Texas like as the one team. Like if you're Seattle, you had this division and it just you kind of choked it away a little bit. There's still
Well, they
time to
never.
come back.
There's plenty of time to come back, and I would expect Seattle to be one of the more active teams in the trade deadline to be able to keep pace, because 7 games to make up on Houston, even though they play them twice in the second half, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So those are stock up, some stock downs. The Red Sox, outside of beating up the Yankees, they have not played well. They're 3-7 in their last 10, even though they blew out Chris Bassett and the Blue Jays yesterday.
Yeah.
That Devers trade seems to have a different reaction to what they were hoping for.
Yeah, which is exactly why trading Devers was a massive mistake. And look, I
It
get
made no
it.
sense.
Look,
Sorry.
you don't want to keep him because of whatever issues he's having with the team. Fine, but you don't have a plan in place.
It literally is. And Mark, I think I said this when we did the show after the trade. Like, this was the Luka trade of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Because remember, after the Luka trade, the Mavericks went downhill.
Now they got Cooper Flag, so
Now
they're
they
about
got
to go
Cooper
back up.
Flag to plant.
Yeah.
And
He's
now
going to
the
be.
Red Sox.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I almost said something that would have been very bad. And we're live, so I'm glad I caught it.
Shame.
Oh my.
Shame. Yeah, so the Red Sox are not playing well. And neither the Kansas City Royals, who are also 4-6, who are 4-6 in their last 10. They did win yesterday over the Dodgers, but they're 12 and a half back in the Central. And in the wild card, they are 3.5 back. So
When you hear that, it doesn't sound as bad of a season, but Kansas City was doing so much better to start off this season, has fallen off as of lately.
yeah, and look, they're playing the Dodgers again today, rubber game. Then they got to go to Seattle, and then they got to go to Arizona. So
That's a tough stretch.
that's not a
before
fun
the-
road
before,
trip. Seattle
before
and
the All-Star break.
So See what happens there. But Kansas City not playing well. The Red Sox are not playing well. And then we talked about the teams who were. All right, and then this week, here's the big series, Mark. We got two NL powerhouses playing in a 2022 National League Championship Series rematch. We got the Padres and the Phillies.
Again, if you watched the series last year, we know everything you want to know about these two teams. The only thing that I have to say is that the Padres have all the pieces there. They just don't seem poised to go take the brass ring away from Los Angeles. That's my only problem is that they're playing well, but just not well enough as they could. Philadelphia, may they choke on their own backs.
So,
I was trying to put it nicely.
oh, Dan.
I'm sorry that
Padres and the Phillies.
Mark had me all distracted.
Well, Mark's got me all true.
Why? What did I do?
Sorry, you got me all distracted because of the choke up the back.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Padres.
Oh. All right.
it's the Phillies. I would say the same thing about the Eagles, except it wouldn't be a bat; it'd be a football.
All right. Pitching matchups. Tomorrow, the Padres haven't announced their starter will go up against Christopher Sanchez. Monday night will be Zach Wheeler and Nick Pivetta, who's a former Philly, but he's been pitching great. And then is that Tuesday or Wednesday? And then Wednesday afternoon it will be Mick Abel against Dylan Cease. So
Yeah, I think for the Phillies, because right now I mean, they and the Mets are battling it out. So for the Phillies, this is a very tough San Diego team. For the Phillies, it's all about maintaining their pitching while they're hitting, and there's gonna be some real good pitching matchups here. Um, Big thing is just put pressure on the Padres defense to make plays and keep the ball on the ground and make the outs tough. And I say the same thing for the Padres. Utilize your power. You have a lot of power in that lineup.
one guy in particular who's been red hot for the Phillies has been Trey Turner.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's gotten going. So, and if you're San Diego, you got to get into the Philly bullpen. If there's a weak link on the Phillies, it's the bullpen. Jordan Romano looks like Ray Romano out there because
Yeah.
he's pitched terribly. Alvarado's still suspended, so you can make waves against that bullpen.
Yeah.
So,
But that lineup can eat.
Yeah.
they need that lineup to start eating though. Tatis,
Yeah.
Machado, those guys need to get going for San Diego.
Yeah. And just being real, the NL West, all those teams are notorious for getting to those pitchers.
Yeah.
So it, keep that formula and stuff. But I think the biggest thing for the Phillies is to put the ball in play and make it tough for the Padres.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Talked a little bit about the Mets and the Brewers. That'll be a rematch of the wild card series from last year. So this will be at Citi Field. Mets need to get their act together. Players only meeting after yesterday's
Yeah, I mean, 12 of 15. Like at some point, like it's no longer because it's not just a 12 of 15. It's that terrible streak before that.
I feel
Where you
like
didn't win
every year,
anything.
Mark, I think you could attest to this. It's June.
You know,
It's always June.
It's always
it's
June for this
always
team.
in June.
It's
Though
always
you had
June.
the opposite though. You know, in June, your season turned and it was great last year. This year, it turned
Uh,
June and it was bad.
They need the
It,
OMG back.
You know?
yes, the flair is definitely out of this team. The electricity. And I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, it's because they're catering to." No, they're not catering to anybody. The New York Mets have a problem.
New
And the
York Mets
problem
have a
is
few
they have
problems.
no pitching. The Mets look, they have pitchers who can pitch in the major league level. They don't have a solid play pitch that position pitcher at the current moment. Sango will be back. Manea is going to be back. Right now, I'm not worried about what's going to be in 3 weeks. I'm concerned right now and how we can improve before the trade deadline passes. If there's pitchers there to get and the Mets miss on it, it's a mistake.
Now, real problem. These starters, and there's gonna be a problem when Shawman I comes back too if he's on account. These
Yep.
guys just don't go deep enough into games. That's a
No.
big
And
problem. They
yep.
don't go deep enough. You've worn out the bullpen, and the magic that was the Met bullpen early on. Well,
Is now
Oscar
fizzling.
Brazaban realizes, oh yeah, I'm Oscar Brazaban. I'm not this great
Yeah.
reliever. I mean, Reed Garrett, he's had his moments, but he's also turned into Leaf Garrett from time to time. You know, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, look, and it sucks that you would think that some of these players that weren't very good would have turned a corner by playing well, right? But it never materializes that way. That's the part that sucks because the Mets got out to a hot start. It was because of the bullpen. It was
Yep.
because of the starting pitching. And now we're starting to see the flaws of having those that haven't had a good track record over the years.
And look, also at the same time, the lineup has gone into a massive funk outside of Juan Soto.
Yeah. By the way, how about Juan Soto now carrying and the team stinks? I mean,
Yeah, to, to to the people who are complaining in April, how
yeah.
you like him now?
No.
Yeah, no, I was never worried about Soto.
I was not
Neither
worried
was
about
They
I.
it.
they get he gets off to a slow start. Okay, whatever. Like
Well,
the
if you just look at sorry, Dan, go ahead.
the issue is the rest of the lineup is not contributing.
Yep.
If you had this version of Soto with the version of Pete Alonso that started the season, with the version of Francisco Lindor that started the season, this Met team would be unstoppable. They'd be better than the Dodgers
And
easily.
those are two guys I'm not worried about because I know they're going to turn around.
Yeah.
The guy I'm very worried about, and I know he just came back, but I'm worried about Mark Vientos.
Yeah.
See, with Vientos, yeah, to me, it's the true sophomore slump as he's been up for 3 years.
Yeah.
As of last year, he showed absolute panache, in his play, hitting above 270, 20 plus home runs. So, and then we have not seen that Mark Vientos this year. Does that mean he's not going to be the same again? No. But right now, with him not hitting as well, Brett Beatty will see the starts at third base over Vientos, who will DH at times.
And it's easy to DH Vientos right now, too, with the Jesse Winker injury.
Yeah.
So the Mets will play the Brewers. We talked about how well they were playing. Dan, your Yanks go to Toronto to play the Blue Jays, and now it's a massive series because the Blue Jays are only 3.5 back of the Yankees.
And the Rays are half game out because the Super Yankees can't beat the A's. There's another one that's been bad. The pitching has struggled outside of Max Fried, and all of a sudden the bats gotten very quiet, and it's everybody. It's everybody. But none other than the manager of this team that continues to make the dumbest of the dumbest of the dumbest decisions. You had Carlos Rodon against the Reds midway through the week, pitching outstanding, get like 88 pitches. Yankees were winning. And you take him out. And some complained that maybe he was tired. It was a hot day in Cincinnati. Um, but then the bullpen blows it, and the Yankees don't respond. This is the crap that I'm talking about. Like, when you know someone's feeling it, like keep him out there. I don't want to say, fuck Rodon if he's tired. Like, I get it. If you're tired, you're tired. But like, no, if I was a pitch, I would keep going out there. But of course, that's not the decision that was made, and it backfired on him. But it's everybody. It's the manager, it's the pitching, it's the hitting. It is a collective effort right now with the Yankees. And it's very frustrating because they can't
You
beat teams like the A's.
you can see the same frustrations that Yankee fans have, that the same thing the Mets fans have, the same team problems right now. The
Yeah.
Yankees have a great young lineup,
Yeah.
and a very capable one. So do the Mets. They're hitting. They're just not hitting when it's needed.
Yeah. My big issue with the Yankees in terms of the young guys is Volpe, and it's because he is not hitting or fielding like we thought he would. And I wonder if you were to give him the Alvarez treatment and you send him down, and not necessarily to send a message, but to
Get his
get
confidence back.
get his confidence back a little bit. I don't want to do that because we could actually use him as shortstop right now. Our defense is trash, but at the same time, he's not playing well. So
Well, I believe you got your favorite pitcher going today in Marcus Stroman.
is he pitching? I don't know. I haven't
I
been
think so.
Yeah, he was active. He's starting today.
because he had a rough rehab start. So I mean,
Welcome to the Frankie Montas Club.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say.
Listen. I'll give Frankie Montas this. He gave us 5 scoreless,
Yeah, he gave up 17 runs to come pitch 5 scoreless. Yeah.
and then the bullpen's gonna blow it. Yeah. So yeah, the Yankees will go to Toronto.
yeah, and they have to win that series. They cannot if they get swept. I think the division's over because then the Rays would take over, and guess what? So will the Blue Jays. So the Yankees will all of a sudden be in third place in the AL East. They had a 5-game lead at one point. Terrible.
While you're talking about the Rays, they're gonna play the A's. So while you're in Toronto, they get the A's.
Mind you, the A's haven't been give ups all year. They put up some
The
good
A's have a
fights.
lot of young talent.
Yeah.
Now, if you're playing the Rockies, I would say you have a different story.
I'm not necessarily in love with him yet, but Nick Kurtz, man,
Nick Kurtz can play.
He hits the ball at the ballpark and can get some runs in. So it's a player to look out for future wise.
All right. So Mark, just because you asked, the Rockies are playing the Astros.
That should be easy.
Are the Rockies playing fans today? Because the fans would have a better chance in winning.
Well, the Rockies are playing the Brewers today. But
I think
I'll give you this. Next weekend, the Colorado Rockies will be hosting the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, that's got to be a series to watch.
That's must
that
watch.
should be Sunday Night Baseball.
How
the
that's
over in
not
that game.
Sunday Night Baseball is beyond me. All right. Some other series to watch. We got a 2016 World Series rematch with the Cubs and the Guardians. And then an NL West showdown between the Giants and the Diamondbacks.
See, I love division series. The Giants and the Diamondbacks. It's going to be a tough 3-game series. Definitely going to be taken by the Diamondbacks 2-1.
Yeah, so see what happens there. Diamondbacks are battling a ton of injuries now. Corbin Carroll out.
Carroll goes down, yeah.
Oh. And then next weekend, or this coming week, next weekend, we got the Subway Series round 2 in Queens.
Yeah, in Queens, not in Short Field Yankee Stadium.
But by the way, 3 day games between the Mets and the Yankees. Thankfully,
and it's gonna be hot too.
Yeah, something tells me this spells Met sweep all over. Like I just don't trust the Yankees right now to win any ball games.
I think the Long Island Ducks won in a triple threat. If I'm being honest with you right now.
And the
So
Buffalo Bills will come in and win a game.
yeah. Now keep in mind, I also predicted a sweep with the Mets sweeping the Yankees last time, and that obviously didn't happen.
So it did not happen.
Oh, they were competitive games for the most part. So
Yeah, but no, I think that the Mets will at least take the series for sure.
So
I think you got to change because Soto's going to be cheered more,
Yeah.
and it's going to help that Mets team with the crowd.
And by the way, I don't know if he's going in the Blue Jay series, but if you could avoid Max Fried, the Mets have a legitimate shot.
Yeah, I know
that'd be nice.
I know y'all want to avoid Max.
He's had, 10-2 with a 2-something ERA.
Listen, there's an interesting debate about who should be starting for the American League in the All-Star game between him, Hunter Brown, who's been great for the Astros, and Tarek Skubal, who right now is the best pitcher of baseball.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, look, Mike makes a very, very fair point. All 3 pitchers are good, but Skubal is just a little bit better. Skubal should get the start.
Skubal is fantastic. So
yeah, and we've been talking about him for the last year. So
yeah, so got a Subway Series next weekend. The Reds will go to Philly next weekend. Cardinals and Cubs renew their rivalry. The Tigers will play the Guardians, and then a 2017 World Series rematch between the Astros and the Dodgers. So that's the week ahead, guys. So I do want to make a note of this. Batter Up will be moving to twice a week after the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What that second day is, we'll wait that decision when we decide to. But
day before, Mike's going to call. We're going at 11. Okay, we're going.
Damn right. You want to go solo?
No.
He'll
be going hand solo, but no.
Mark, do you got anything on the dugout?
Dugout has had a nice couple of weeks with Top Notch Sports Club, our co-signer. New batch of cards dropping next week. And we had a great week. Thank you for a White Sox player for once. On a printing plate auto 101, Paul Konerko brings in a little bit more
Konerko. Damn, what a pull.
In a C note. So, hey, thank you for whoever actually liked Paul Konerko.
Paul Konerko was a good player.
He actually was. He ended up being a better designated hitter than he ever was a fielder.
Oh, that happened.
No offense, I couldn't have done better, but hey.
Oh my god. All right. We're going to end it on that. That'll do for this edition of the Batter Up Podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Follow us on the socials, Twitter, Insanity Real, Facebook, The Sports Insanity Network. Go to the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch here on the YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. I know Dan and Bill will be live for SIP tomorrow.
Yeah, probably sometime in the morning.
And then Tuesday, we might be doing 2 editions of the Breakaway Bandits podcast live on YouTube as well. free agency special. So tune into that.
Yeah, during the heat of summer, great thing to talk about a sport on ice.
Dan, Mark, I'm like, everyone have a happy and safe 4th of July. Do not turn into Jason Pierre Paul if you're going to use fireworks.
Oh no.
Ouch.
I want to keep my fingers, you know.
Catch you on the
Alright.
flip side.